cement factories get their limestone from very shallow depths. So we need to understand the geology deeper. Again, you're opening up an R&D topic for a lot of our geologists here, young geologists and young professionals here.
So, Chairman, can I add just a few comments to it, if you don't mind? Okay, no, thank you very much, our Chief Chambers. I just want to provide one information, but also to link it to the issue of our refineries. How do we intend to do this? Number one, as of today, there is a pilot project going on in Nigeria for CCS, capture and storage, being funded by the federal government and the World Bank. And is a consortium of oil and gas are involved, the cement industry, petrochemicals, the LNG are all involved in this project. And the whole idea is to have a hub where we have to gather all this CO2, because you don't want to be too far away from where you gather. So they're looking for where you have the highest emitting companies. And I think they've already identified 2 locations, somewhere in the south-south, which you expect. And the other key factor is that you then need to link, wherever you aggregate this emission, how far will it then be to the storage, which our own Baba Kenny mentioned? Because you don't want to be too far from where you have to lay the pipeline, because you have to lay a pipeline. You capture with those mesh equipments, then you have to transport those CO2 via a pipeline to the location where you want to store it. Now, there has also been discussion around, can you use existing pipelines we have all around the Niger Delta? But maybe those pipelines are old, they might not be well enough to carry CO2 along those pipelines. So those studies are already ongoing. But the key thing is that you still have to have that infrastructure to be able to move it from point A, where the high emitters are, including the petrochemicals, the refineries you mentioned, to point B, where you then have to store it. And I know there's also an element of the volume that you have to store, right? They're looking about reservoir that already possibly have about a TCF of gas when you are producing. When you convert it, it's going to give you about 10 megatons per annum of storage. So you need that storage that is big enough such that when you aggregate all those CO2, you should be able to at least store those CO2 for 10 years, which then means you need about a capacity of about 80 metric tons per annum. So those are some of the thinkings that are going into it. I know it's still evolving, but I can tell you today there is a pilot project that is ongoing in Nigeria, and I'm sure we'll learn alongside as it progresses. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm sure this is going to be a more interesting discussion after this lecture. Shegun.
Yes, I'm Shegun Obilaja, Shell, Nigeria. Full disclosure, one of the first generation students of the chairman in the industry. So I'm happy you've actually mentioned the various variables that we need to look for storage, particularly the trapping mechanism for the reservoir of choice. And you've mentioned that the preference will be the relatively shallower ones, 800 meters down, not the real deep ones. But there's a problem in the delta. Our faulting systems are dynamic, which means they close, they open, they close. How do you want to predict or manage? And it gets worse the shallower you are. In other words, you can model a fault and it's looking good today. You pump in some gas and it opens up. So how are you going to manage that risk before you venture into it?
I suppose the short answer, we're not. Essentially what we can do is to think about those problems before acquiring data or ways of monitoring data. That will help to determine whether there is in fact a risk. For example, you might have a decent seismic image. You might think there's just too many faults that may be reactivated through pressure changes or natural geological variations. You might, in those circumstances, we'll go much, much deeper, or find a deeper second or tertiary aquifer and a seal system, so that if the faults were to reactivate, even deep ones, you have the gases going up to the next reservoir, seal, and again to the third one. I mean, certainly, if you look at Northern Lights, the one in the Norwegian Sea, they're actually in the third potential reservoir. So they've got a shallow one at about 1 kilometer, they've got one about 2.5 kilometers, and then they've got the one they're actually going to inject into at 3.5 kilometers. So they're really going for belt and braces here, and they don't even have anything like the problems you're describing. And then there's a point that if it is just too dense in those areas, and hopefully a repurposed and re-imaged data set, reused basically, would have shown that up. And we haven't actually gone to the expense of acquiring data. That would probably be bad. And then maybe you just have to go to a different location. But that will be the operator really that does that. So further downstream in a way from us. But what we can do is provide the quality of data and processing necessary to get the most out of that in the first place. In a way, that's the operator's language.
Shegun, this is where your expertise can improve the technology, where your forward modeling capabilities in terms of behavior of the fault with time, you can forward model and predict it and input that into the new seismic, which can be acquired at a cheaper rate, at a cheaper cost, subsequent. Let's move on to online. We'll take 3 questions from online. Am I right? Okay. No, let's go online.
All right.
The first one is from Babs Oyenei. Can the sensors monitor the changes in the geochemical properties of the reservoir and the cap rock due to the foaming effect of interaction between CO2 and the matrix? If not, what's the best monitoring technique? That's the first question. Okay, one after the other, right?
Yes, let me just quickly respond to that, because Professor Yene is joining us from the UK. Yes. Professor Bugs, the technology is not going to be able to image rock fluid interaction. For it to be able to detect it, that interaction must be over a long time for the geochemical reactions to occur and create another type of rock fabric into the subsurface. For example, we know that if you have clay minerals, you can transform some of those clay minerals with CO2 into other types of clays. But more importantly is the fact that, like I said, we need a better understanding and the process by which that rock fluid interaction can take place. So geophysical techniques, as it stands now, will not be able to monitor the short-term effects of carbon storage into the subsurface. If it's a very, very, very long time, there are geochemical techniques now that can be used to predict the long-term effects of rock fluid interaction. That's another research topic for. Thank you.
Okay, second question from Adeyemi Momo. What are the parameters to be considered during retrofitting CCS injection and transportation units with power generation and cement plants?
Well, I think our president-elect touched on some of those aspects. Perhaps he would like to.
Sorry, I got distracted a bit. Repeat that question, PS.
What are the parameters to be considered during retrofitting CCS injection and transportation units with power generation and cement plants?
Okay, well, I will just give a bit of general view, right? The The process is the same. It doesn't matter. CO2 is CO2. I know, Ed, you did mention that the CO2 is not like, water or gas, right? So it's like olive oil. So, and it doesn't matter where that CO2 comes from, whether it's from cement, whether it's from petrochemicals or oil and gas. So the principle is going to be the same. And that's why this project that is ongoing now, they're not segregating the sectors. They're pulling every single body together. And so the whole idea is that whatever that CO2 is captured using the technology, there are all kinds of technology. I think Shell using the technology they call Consolve also. I think it's also in the public. So there are all kinds of technology that you use to be able to capture, especially post-combustion, right? So there can be pre-combustion, there will be post-combustion. And I'm sure that question is referring to post-combustion. So which means it's the CO2 that is coming out after combustion. So it doesn't matter. Once you capture it, then the same pipeline, all you need to check is, do you want to use carbon steel, for example? If you want to use carbon steel, how will CO2 react to it? So that will be the key thing the engineers are going to be checking. So once you check those parameters, just the way you are doing oil and gas drilling, the casing design and everything, what's the quality of the oil or gas, is there H2S and so on. The same way, even CO2. Once you just design for the pipeline that can take CO2 for years, then that's all you need to install. And it doesn't matter whether it's oil and gas or cement industry. I hope that helps.
Let me just add something quickly to that, because again, this is a knowledge session. For me, when I look at other parts of the industry in Nigeria where CO2 expulsion is a challenge, one of the things that we tend to forget is the application of, just like Ed discussed today, below the limestone formations that are being used as source material. If you take the Southwest, for example, we know the age of the limestones. If I forget now, but they're Turonian in age. However, above that, we have different types of sandstone reservoirs. Shallow seismic can help us to identify where those sandstone reservoirs can be present enough and what the behavior is so that we can use them for effective storage. So shallow seismic acquisition is not just relevant in the oil and gas industry. It's also relevant in all these areas where these pilot technologies are being tested. We're testing blindly, if I may say with due respect. We don't understand fully well how far we have to gather the CO2s, and how deep we need to identify those sources to be able to store them effectively, even online, not just shallow water or deep water, but also on land. Last question, please.
Okay, the last one is a comment, actually, from Olubukola Ajibola. Well done, sir. A great presentation, a wonderful presentation from management of Shearwater and Harvest Geosolutions. I also appreciate NAPE Organizing Committee to learn from this important area of study, especially in the area of exploration and carbon storage. Knowledge of geology and geophysics is also very important. Thank you. I think that's all.
That's a comment.
Yes.
At this point, we've spent about almost, if we had started at 11, 2.5 hours. Let me just make a few closing remarks, and then I'll leave it to the President-elect and the President of NAPE to give their final remarks. I think this has been a very interesting topic and lecture, which has been delivered by Ed. It provides a lot of extension of knowledge and skills away from what our comfort zone, which is looking for oil and gas. As geoscientists, we understand the technologies. We understand now how we can adapt those technologies, inclusive of the knowledge that we have gained from this lecture, in order to improve and extend our workflows, the integration of our data, and more importantly, emphasizing on forward, both from acquisition techniques as well as data integration, in order to, in the final analysis, save the world from getting overheated. Some major R&D areas will include how do we upscale these technologies in such a way that we can make them commercially attractive, recognizing that every basin around the world, every petroleum province is different. CO2 emission sources are diverse. Every field, even within a known basin, can be different. So we need to bring our knowledge of geology, geophysics, the practicalities of it together. We need an integration of disciplines similar to what we are already doing in our individual workflows, our workplaces. But perhaps we need to do more of that integration of skills and discipline sets, learning from each other. And one final warning to all of us, including myself, as a geoscientist: we are letting the commercial people overtake us in this journey and quest for the effect of oil and gas pollution. We know that the pollution occurs, but everything now needs to be cost effective, needs to be cost compliant, needs to be affordable. So let's all bring our commercial sense and caps into the picture. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Mr. John Bosco to make his closing remarks.
Thank you very much. And a round of applause for our session chair, Dr. Kehinde Ladipo, FNAPE. I think it's been quite an engaging, both the presentation, but also the Q&A, and the quality has been also top notch. So, and thanks for being an engaging audience. Now, before I quickly move on to the next agenda, I want to very quickly recognize some other fellows that joined us very quickly. We have Dr. Akin Karim, FNAPE, who also joined us early. And I think online, in addition to others I've already recognized, we have our former president, Mr. Jibola Oyebamiji, FNAPE, also joining us. And by the way, I must say, thanks to our fellows, right? Again, I'm happy our elder Chief Chambers is here. Since February, I think we've been having in excess of 10 plus fellows joining us every single month. And I think that's been quite impressive. So I just want to say, at least to all the fellows here, tell other fellows that are not joining that they need to start also join us to be part of this conversation. But also to the audience, I think I see many of you have been here month after month. So thanks for being very active for this. Now, I will call on the president to recognize and appreciate the chairman and the speaker and also the sponsor. But I will have to delay the sponsor because I will delay. So we don't want to appreciate you yet until we see what you've done. So we can only appreciate the chairman and the speaker because we've seen what they've done. So you permit me to break it into two. So we appreciate these two first, and then I'm sure the president will have something to say. The sponsor will have something to say, and then you can agree with me. At that time, we can recognize the sponsor. So on that note, I want to call Mr. President for the appreciation.
Thank you very much, JB. I think it has been a wonderful section. Thanks again, Ed. One of the things that we've been talking about for some time is how to position FNAPE for the new energy mix, and this is one of it. Carbon captures and storage is the tomorrow or today, because by being able to capture our carbon, we can still continue our business of fossil fuel exploration and development. So I think technologies is evolving every day. Now we are not just storing the carbon again. There's another aspect of it, which is the utilization. Technology is evolving, and one of the things that we'll continue to do in FNAPE is to create a platform where we share all this insight and knowledge together. So I want to thank you, Eddie, for giving us this insightful talk today. And also to my boss. Many of us, I don't know the generation that I belong. Shegun said he was the first generation, so I don't know my own generation. And I know JB two generations there. So Dr. Kenny has been a mentor to many of us in the industry. So I want to thank you again for having us here. You have been very, very inspiring to most of us, and it's also good to hear from you again this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here, sir. So on that note, I would like to say a big thank you to Dr. Kenny for honoring our call to be the chairman of this occasion, sir. Thank you very much. So I'm sure Dr. still have a lot of this, but it's not too much. So you can still give you power there.
Thank you very much.
And to our speaker, Eddie, thanks so much for coming again. And for us to know, Eddie was here last year. He made a presentation to us at one of our technical sections. He was here in November, and he's here again, and he just told me that he'll also be back in November. Please, a round of applause for him. If I please come. So, before we go into the final section of hearing the sponsor's remark, I will use this opportunity to formally do a document exchange with Shearwater and Harvest Juice Solution. Like I mentioned, we had an MOU signed online. Now that we have physical presence of Shearwater and Harvest Juice Solution, it's better for us to do a formal exchange of that MOU. Is a testament of our shared belief in promoting excellence in universities. We want to make sure our universities are well equipped, well staffed with essential software for them to be able to do their studies very well. So on that note, I'll call my university assistant, Harvest and Shearwater, please. So I think it's time for us to have the sponsors remark. So over to you, Mr. Lapan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, President and President-elect. I thank my colleagues from Shearwater and my colleagues in the office. And most of all, I want to appreciate everyone for taking the time to come and join us to understand what is happening now and what we should be looking forward to in the future in terms of technological advancements and how we sort of work with everyone to make sure our world is better. The first thing I want to say, as the President mentioned earlier, is that we want to see our universities develop in terms of their technical know-how, in terms of the understanding of the science of geology or geophysics or petrophysics, whatever you want to call it, as a group, the geosciences. And our vision is that we want to support those universities to achieve the excellence that they all desire and that we can compete, as we've always done, with other institutions around the world. As a result, we've really gone out provide seismic data processing software because we see that there is a debt or a sparsity in terms of the universities that actually have the ability to use software in their day-to-day learnings and in their research, by the way. So we just thought that the best thing to do is to actually reach out through the help of FNAPE to provide universities with a solution that will help them really understand what geophysics means and how they can apply that before even coming to industry. A number of universities have actually really responded positively to this initiative. And we're saying this so that for those of us that may not be aware, we could also inform those universities to be more proactive in terms of response. This initiative to see that our students are top-notch in terms of their geophysics and their learnings before they leave university. A number of universities, we just mentioned, this really cuts across the 6 geopolitical regions. So we are not selective. Anyone that has the capacity or they have the tools, the equipment to access this software, will be able to work with them. So far, we've had responses from University of Ilorin, Landmark University, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Nigeria, Federal University of Technology, Owerri, the Center of Petroleum Geoscience, University of Port Harcourt, Center of Excellence in Geoscience and Petroleum Engineering, UNIBEN, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, FUPRE, Mountaintop University, Covenant University, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, Obafemi Awolowo University. Of this that we've outlined, 13 of them so far, only 4 have actually taken up this initiative. So please, we want you to encourage everyone to contact us if they haven't already been contacted by ourselves. We also have other programs for reservoir characterization services. We provide software called AMSA Russell. And so far we have contacted 21 universities. Of these, only 8 have responded. So again, just want to say thank you for coming. We want you to also invite others. When I joined FNAPE many years ago, a few years back, the room is always full of people. I want to see that again. So please, let's, as they say, the more the merrier. So let's invite others, corporate organizations, to come out and make the technical sessions very insightful. Thank you once more. God bless.
All right. Thank you very much, Harvest Geo Solution. I think right now you agree with me that it deserves some appreciation, right? So on that note, I would invite Mr. President once more to now please appreciate Mr. Peter and Mr. Mike. I think they deserve it right now. Another round of applause for them. Thank you. And now a group picture, so we can all join now for group picture. Then after the group picture, Mr. PS will now take us through the remaining, the announcements.
Announcement. All right. Thank you, everyone, for staying up to this moment, even though we're running late. So for announcement, we're going to be very quick about it. We'll have Oka Owerri chapter having the technical meeting. That will be tomorrow. Then we also have another technical meeting for UK Europe chapter on 23rd of April 2024. And the topic is prospectivity of isolated carbonate buildups offshore South China Sea. Next. All right, so the big one is here. The FNAPE Annual International Conference and Exhibition, scheduled to hold from 10th to 14th of November 2024, right here at Eco Hotel. Theme, Resolving the Nigerian Energy Trilemma, Energy Security, Sustainability, Growth, and Affordability. All right, still in line with the conference, the call for abstracts is open. And for obvious reasons, this year we might probably not have extension. So please, if you are looking to make paper presentation this year or poster presentation, please do well to reach out to the FNAPE Editor-in-Chief, Dr. Shofolabo, or also reach out to Mr. Lawrence at the Secretariat for guidance. Next. Still on the conference, next. All right, so for the conference, the exhibition floor is almost sold out. So if you're thinking of exhibiting at this year's conference, please, this is the right time to take advantage of the few slots that are still open. And that is still open till it's fully sold out. Next. So for geologists, we have a challenge that is currently going on. So we want all geologists. Few weeks ago, we celebrated the World Geologist Day in Lagos, and of course, across the world. So what we want to do is everybody's promoting their own discipline and their own field. So as geologists, we also want to promote, geology as a profession. And so to do that, we want all geologists, anywhere you are in the world, to do a video of what you do on a daily basis. Whether you are in the lab, or you are in the field, or you are in the office. I mean, whatever your daily routine looks like, just get someone to do a video of that post it on social media across all our platforms and tag NAPE Nigeria. And at the end of the day, the person with the highest engagement, the highest likes, the highest shares will get a full conference sponsorship at this year's conference. So it's something to, and of course, just so you know, the conference registration fee has gone up this year. So if you get it, that's a waiver for you. So please try to key in. Then the second one is of course challenge. So for some of the younger generation, we've seen some people doing some challenges with, of course, I'm a geologist, and then they give some details. So you can also do same and also tag NAPE. And there's also a gift attached to that, which is also a conference registration. Then for NAPE membership dues, please, if you haven't paid your dues up to this moment, please try to update your NAPE membership. Then I think we have a few slots open for monthly technical meeting in Lagos, and then of course across other chapters. And for Lagos, probably about 1 or 2, if and then other months are already taken up. So if you are thinking of taking up a sponsorship for monthly technical meeting, please do well to reach out to the NAPE President-elect, Mr. John Bosco Uche. Then the election is now open. So this is a major election year for NAPE, and we'll have some positions that are open. The President-elect, the General Secretary, the Assistant General Secretary, the Treasurer, the Publicity Secretary, the Financial Secretary, the Editor-in-Chief, and the Assistant Editor-in-Chief. These positions are open for contest. So perhaps you want to serve, you want to volunteer for NAPE, please do well to key into the process. The timeline is also stated. Please turn the slide before this. So that's the timeline for the election. So please try to reach out to the NAPE Secretariat or the committee in charge of the election, ably led by Goodluck Adambasa. All right, I think that should be it. Thank you very much. Then lunch is ready. And for lunch, our sponsors, our speaker, our fellows, and other dignitaries that are here will actually go to my far left. That's the serving point for dignitaries. And then we'll have 2 serving points for every other person. So if you're on this wing, please, there's a serving point over there. And then other ones on this wing, there's another serving point for you here. May I now hand over to the President-elect? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. PS. So I think we are now at the end. So what I want to do now is just to give vote of thanks, and it's going to be very brief so that we can have our lunch. I, first of all, want to thank the sponsor for this month's technical meeting, Harvest Geo Solutions. I also want to, I know the PS mentioned, whether we still have opening. To be honest, I think from May till September is all sold out in terms of the sponsorship for our monthly meetings. One is not yet confirmed, but I mean, we've got verbal commitments, so it's almost. But if you're still keen to sponsor, we can work out something and see if we can do 2 in a month, if we have to. So we won't stop you if you're interested. But thanks, Harvest Geo Solution, and to our speaker, Edward Hager, from Shearwater. Thank you very much for having you. I also want to thank all the fellows still here and those still online, and also the executive committee members that have joined us here in the room, but also online. But most importantly, for all of you that have been here, I think over 100 of you for this meeting. You've been doing it month after month. So I really want to say thank you. And on this note, I can now tell you that the lunch is served. So as the PS directed, the fellows on this side and the rest on the other 2. So thank you very much, and see you again in June, because May is going to be virtual, but in June for physical. Thank you very much. Lunch is served, but also networking is on as well. So ensure you take advantage of the networking as well. Thank you.
You know, our favorite song, I won't think of you. I'll stop wondering if you got someone new. Yeah, when it snows in July, that's when it snows in July. I'll find somebody else that can take your place. I like I don't feel me. In July, like when it snows in July. It's so much easier said than done to let you go, girl. And when it rains in the desert, then maybe I'll let you know, girl, that I'm over it. Look how cold it is here in July, when rivers run dry. That's when I'll decide to let you out of my life. I'll hear a favorite song and won't think of you. I'll stop wondering if you got someone new. Yeah, when it snows in July, like when it snows in July, I'll find somebody else that can take your place. I'll act like I don't desperately miss you, babe. When it snows in July, like when it snows in July, I'll hear a favorite song and won't think of you. I'll stop wondering if you got someone new. When it snows in July, like when it snows in July, I'll find somebody else that can take your place. I'll act like I don't desperately, desperately when it snows in July. When it snows in July.
What? Check it. This is how we do it one time. Into the year 20, straight from 99. Check that. A crate David's up in here. Check it. One day, man, in my own business.